The two families, they met to decide the fate of college football playoffs. Grab a drink and join us on this week's Tailgate. Alrighty in here. Hey, Michael this week. I mean,
just this week you're Michael?
Just this week. You're catching a very rare glimpse of Michael.
This is his actual accent.
This is actually how I talk. No, I don't. That's not how I talk. If you couldn't guess, we were putting on a bit. Yeah. So
I heard you could do the whole scene.
I could.
That's what Luke told me.
I could make an offer you can't refuse, but I decided.
I heard one was already made though.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what happened. And that's the reason why we went with the bit that we did, because the SEC and the Big Ten kind of made an offer that people can't refuse, because if they do, they just lose the SEC and the Big Ten.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of a lose-lose situation.
All their financial backing. And,
it's pretty great for them. Pretty.
The muscle.
Yeah. They are the muscle.
That is very true.
But anyways, proper introductions. I'm Michael. We got Dennis. We got Luke.
How's everyone doing?
What's up?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah. I mean, I'm doing pretty good now. I gotta switch.
Get the southern accent going down now. He's like, "Oh, I'm SEC, so southern now."
I got. It says 10. See, I gotta represent the Tennessee. No.
All right, so let's talk some college football.
Tennessee was on the winning side of things this time around.
No, we already talked about the NCAA stuff. And Tennessee just being the GOAT there. But let's So what are y'all's thoughts on this new on the new CFP, like media rights deal, all that stuff? You know.
I mean, I am glad that it's done.
Sure.
And I'm glad that it's been extended. I think it's a good thing that ESPN extended it. What is it? That it's going to like the 30-31 season? The 31-32 season.
I don't think it's 100 years.
So
or 1,000 years.
20, not the
31st century.
Not the 30-31 season.
He's like, this is a 1,000-year contract.
Right. Yeah, that $7.8 billion for that would not be a very good deal then.
Yeah.
But no, so it goes to the 2031-32 season. I mean, it's good. I think that obviously, as we mentioned, the Big Ten and the SEC are just kind of strong-arming everybody, which, okay. So they're making a lot of money. I feel bad for the group of five guys.
Oh, I agree.
Like, it's one of those.
They barely got a raise at all.
They got like a
2%,
like a 20% raise.
No, it was 20.
It went from like 1.5 to 1.8 million.
Yeah,
so
that's bad.
I mean, me personally, I would be perfectly fine with that kind of raise. But
sure.
For a
20%,
team, considering the fact that you've got SEC teams like Vanderbilt, who are worse than most Mountain West teams, are going to be getting $21 million if they make it into the playoffs. Now, granted, that'd be pretty
Vanderbilt
impressive.
probably use their lawyers and the algorithm to be able to kind of get this done. I'd imagine so. That's where they pitched in.
Yeah, but the fact that they're getting $21 million, the ACC is getting $13 million, and the Big 12 is getting $12 million, and all independent teams are getting 12, which is just again. I
feel like the group of five teams should go, hey, we're independent too.
Right.
They would get more money.
It really would benefit them to go independent, because they have a better chance of potentially beating, getting into the playoffs.
I mean, like Boise State probably could do it.
I mean, any of those teams. I mean, look at like James Madison this past year. All these teams just go independent. Like, you're going to get more money than being in the conference. Now, again, I don't know all their conference. Their
shenanigans.
Well,
contracts
their contracts and how much money they're making off their rights deals and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we
but
just
I
have
bet you it's probably not $12 million.
It's not. It's not likely.
So
probably like 100,000.
No, five. It's probably at least $1 million.
So, but I hate it for them, and then also screw Notre Dame, man.
Yep.
Why do they keep allowing them to play these games and to stay independent? At this point, we shouldn't even put an independent. It should be.
I think if you take away the brand they are, then yes, 100%. That I don't think, even when they've been ranked in the top 10 in the past 10, 15 years, whenever they actually played a big name team, after that, it's like they were non-existent.
Right.
Like they didn't matter. But if you include the brand, I can see why they get 12. Mind you, I'm not a Notre Dame fan by any means, but I genuinely feel it was just the brand name itself.
That's I think they're a top 10 brand.
But ranking a team year in and year out based upon the fact that their brand is a blue blood brand, and that it is honestly probably one of the world recognizable football brands that's out there, just like Michigan, Tennessee, Ohio State, Florida, like some of those bigger. Georgia,
Michigan still went first ahead of Ohio State.
Well, I mean, they've just been bigger for the past 3 years. Yeah. But it's because they've been cheating for the past. I mean, allegedly. So, but it's just one of those things. Like I think with Notre Dame, like if they were to go and actually, if all the Power 5 teams were to refuse to play with Notre Dame because they're not a part of a conference, just that would destroy Notre Dame's strength of schedule and would automatically keep them out of the top 25 all the time. And honestly, if I was a blue blood program, I'd be like, no, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that me and all of my conference opponents, they don't play against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Make Notre Dame play against a bunch of group of 5 guys, and he's a group of 5 guys, burgers and fries. But like make him.
I'll be happy to be sponsored by
them. Yeah, the 5 Guys is vastly overrated in my opinion too. So.
But extremely expensive.
It's extremely expensive.
At least they give you a lot of fries. SEC.
They do give you a lot of fries, unless they want to sponsor us, and then they're the best ever. But
they're not. I still won't say that. Yeah. So if you want to sponsor us, you'll still get an honest sponsorship.
I'll say 11.
That's fine. You can sell your soul for burgers and fries.
Anyway.
But
American way.
It's true. McDonald's. But I just think you can't just continue to rank a team based upon its brand. You have to rank it based upon who they are as a team.
And they get away with so much. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, they year in and year out they play USC, they play Ohio State, 2 teams right there. But at the end of the year, where they are able to build up a little bit more momentum, beating the weaker teams in the ACC or just any other conference, they don't have a championship game to really be like, hey, we beat another team that's been highly regarded or just was able to dominate their own conference. They're not even involved in the ACC conference game. So it's like, why? I never understood that.
Well, I mean, they are getting penalized a little bit with that by not allowing them to be in the top 4 and get the bye.
Sure.
Yeah.
But again, is that necessarily that big of a thing? You're not risking an exit out of the college football playoffs. If you're in the top 10 as Notre Dame, you stay in the top 10 and you're definitely making the playoffs.
Well, even top 12. They actually put one of the notes so they can't even get jumped over. They're not going to have an FSU moment.
Right. They're not going to have an FSU moment. Yeah, you're right. They did say that they can't be jumped over by anybody. And so so I mean, they're kind of weaseling their way in.
Yeah.
And
they found a way to still be independent.
I got a proposal. How about this? What they need to do is, if you're an independent team, which now there's 3?
Well, and the military schools as well, like Navy, Army.
Sure, I don't really count them.
I think it's UConn,
Air Force is the only one.
UConn, UMass.
Okay, so we got 5 now. So you got UConn, UMass. You got Oregon State and Washington State, and now Notre Dame.
Well, but Oregon State and Washington State, they're just treating as independent. I think technically are they still Pac-12?
The Pac-12 doesn't technically exist.
Okay.
So Pac-2.
Yeah.
They're like so, but like
True.
have them just play each other. Like the 2 highest independents have to just play each other, and whichever one wins, if they're still in the top 12.
Yeah.
Like now they have to still be at least one of them has to be in the top 12.
Yeah.
Let's say there's one that's like 12 and then the other one's 15 or 18 and the one that's 18 wins, they automatically get in. The one that's 12 gets kicked back out.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, they're essentially doing that to all the Group of 5 schools.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
By saying
Yeah.
like, hey, the highest ranked Group of 5 champion gets in. But I mean, so yeah, it goes back to I just feel bad for the Group of 5 guys. I mean,
They get no love
They're getting no
whatsoever
love.
anywhere.
Yeah, with
And-
those burgers and fries.
and there's nothing they can do. Essentially, they're, I'm not meaning this to sound rude, but they're sitting at the kiddie table while all the adults are making the decisions.
Sure.
And they just kind of get whatever
They get the scraps.
they're given.
Yeah, the
And so
crumbs and whatever's left over.
it's just
They're given a deal they can't refuse.
true. But I think it's the thing that I thought was going to
Almost
be
went
so
Trump
much
there.
so fun about like playoffs is what we see with like March Madness, which is starting up here, is that you have Cinderella teams. You have
Yeah.
these teams from lower conferences or that can upset these. So I just hate it. I hate it for the Group of 5 teams.
But even like
Yeah.
March Madness, though, you have more than just one Cinderella team
Right.
participating. Like they still win their version of the tournament or whatever. And usually, any March Madness, you normally have like at least, I want to say like 8 Cinderella teams.
Probably something
Not
like that.
like 8 Cinderella teams that actually go through the conference every year, but like 8 teams that have the potential to be that Cinderella story.
Mhm.
In this case, I feel like you only get one, which I mean, in terms of numbers, that kind of makes out to be the same.
Right.
But
I guess that's true.
it's just like you only get one like team to participate out of all those like Group of 5 conferences.
Yeah.
Like, what if there's 2 that are undefeated? So I mean, yeah, it goes strength of schedule, but it's just like they're SOL. Like,
Yep. It's just whoever's ranked higher.
Yeah.
Whoever they choose to be the best. So. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And again, we were talking earlier about just the kind of how it's going to work.
Yeah.
Your question was
like I would hate for the fact that if say like a team like Tennessee or even a Big Ten school, like if they're ranked say number 9, and you have, or let's see if Tennessee is ranked number 13,
Sure.
and they're playing Georgia for the SEC championship that's ranked number, they're loved so much, probably number 1.
Okay.
But like, so Georgia doesn't necessarily see a reason probably to even play in that game, and all of a sudden Tennessee should have an easy win, and all of a sudden now be in the playoffs, or the other way around, where say if 2 teams have lost a couple times, or SEC is a very competitive conference within itself, you can have a championship team that has like 2 losses. So you have 2 teams that are playing the conference championship game, and they're both say like 8 or 9 ranked. One of those teams loses, all of a sudden they're completely out of like the playoff race or the playoff chances.
Yeah, and that's I mean, I think what you're going to end up seeing is you're going to have like it's a hard scenario because you're going to have 2 or 3 teams that are SEC and Big Ten especially that are all very close together, very much a Georgia at 1, 2, 3, Tennessee at 9, Bama at 12, so something like that.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, there's 2 teams that are going to be in the championship. And they're not going to – I doubt they're going to push a loser of a conference championship below a team that did not play in a championship.
Well, I mean, I feel like that would make the most sense.
It'd make the most sense. I mean –
but that kind of brings me to the kind of question where like the thing they want to do for the 14-team slot, where like, hey, 3 SEC teams, 3 Big Ten teams, is that one of the 3, I guess, spots is an automatic bid for the losing team of the conference?
Probably, or the next best team,
Yeah.
or I mean, it's going to be the top 3 teams.
If it's
Which,
the top
yeah.
3, I feel like it wouldn't be fair if the losing team is completely out
I
at
mean,
that point.
with the fact that both the Big Ten and the SEC had done away with divisions, the second best team in the conference is going to be the team that lost in
Right.
the SEC title. Like that's just how that's going to work out because that means that their schedule was they had the most wins in the SEC aside from someone else.
Yeah.
Now, it'll be interesting how they play. Michael, you were talking about the March Madness tournament and how some of the bigger teams
Just didn't look like they showed up
seem to
during their tournaments.
not participate as hard during the tournament so that they could get some rest or
Sure.
heal some injuries, whatever it may be, before they went into the tournament. I think that you could possibly see that, especially if you get to a point where the Big Ten and the SEC have 3 automatic bids, where you kind of get somebody going, you get a team going, okay, we're in the conference championship.
We don't need to risk our players.
But we don't want to risk our players. We have, so-and-so who's hurt, so let's let him get a little more rest.
Yeah.
We'll play the backup quarterback. Where a conference championship isn't the game that you want it to be.
Yeah, I don't want it to lose its significance.
I don't want it to, but I think you're going to end up seeing it at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe not every year, maybe not year over year, but at some point I think that you're going to see it lose a little bit of its luster.
Yeah.
So
I know. I totally get you. Like it's that's the as Josh Pate has said, it's like that's one of the things that you run the risk of. The more games you add, the more you oversaturate.
Yep.
You oversaturate, but then you like really kind of devalue every game. Like, he was a big proponent of not even moving to the 4-team playoff because he just felt like the BCS Bowl was like just have one national championship and number 1, number 2 play against each other and
be done with it.
That's some of the best you can have in college football. If your team is good, then they got to a decent bowl game or something like that.
Yep.
And we saw even this past year that the move to the 4-team playoff has devalued the value
like
of a bowl.
The 4-team playoff should never have been a thing because I feel like it's too small. It's too small, but like just to be able to pick off of. So I feel like if it was a 8-12 player, like that does make a little bit more sense. But 4, I just always felt like it was just like, how are you going to choose the 4 teams? Like that can easily kind of flip flop at any given moment.
I go back to a 64-team playoff, and
I love that chaos of that.
That just sounds amazing. We can literally just watch football all year round.
Yeah,
wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
imagine the NIL transfers 1 week to the next.
Oh gosh.
Last week he was playing for Tennessee. This week he's playing for Ohio State.
Right.
It's worse than the NFL.
He's back into the portal, and this time he's playing for Michigan. Like no loyalty whatsoever.
Not at all.
Yeah, just call it football madness. Not even March Madness or October Madness. Just football madness.
I feel like it's like one of those like pendulums. Just like every week you have a new roster,
new team.
Yeah.
So, but and do we have any other thoughts about this? I mean, it'll be interesting to see if they get if the Big Ten and the SEC get their way also with the 14-team playoff, which a lot of people are saying is going to happen, and it looks like it'll probably
I feel like it would be
2026.
too soon for that to happen.
It looks like it's already moving that way.
Yeah.
I mean, with as much effort as they're putting into it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just a matter of time before.
It's crazy to me. It's been talked about and it's already being implemented before even the 12 even begins.
Yep.
Yeah, we've not even played a 12, and they're already talking about
The season hasn't even started.
True. Yeah.
But no, I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be fun. I just hate it for the group of 5 guys.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope one of them is kind of slipping into the top 12 and so like earns their spot. That's one of the things I'm going to really enjoy about the playoffs and really can't wait for it is the chaos that it's going to bring.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even care if it's like a 3-loss SEC team or Big Ten team that just happens to slip into the top 12 because of who they lost to, but end up creating just like massive changes throughout the playoff race.
It's going to cause chaos. And I think the other interesting thing is we are just going to get to see more teams go against, like, it used to be you went all year and you had your, maybe your one Ohio State plays Notre Dame or your one out of conference game or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And then you get to your bowl game, and that's when you see yourself go up against a team from, the Rose Bowl was always Big Ten and Pac-12, and you kind of had those kind of games. I think the playoffs is going to be a lot of fun because you're going to see just this intertwining of Big Ten versus SEC versus a MAC team versus, it's just going to be
Mountain View,
Mountain West. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun.
All going to be spoiled by Appalachian State. That's right.
That's right.
Hey, I hope Appalachian is able to make one of them.
too.
If they do, I'll honestly be such a big fan of it. I would want to go to that game specifically.
That'd be such a fun game
Yeah.
to watch.
So, but it'll be interesting.
Yep. But before we sign off tonight, we have one other major kind of breaking news for today, I believe it was. But Clemson has decided to follow in FSU's footsteps and sue the pants off the ACC.
Yep.
ACC is going to stand their ground. I think ESPN's standing there right there with them.
ESPN, ACC, I think it came up and ACC's already kind of said, well, you didn't have to sign it. You didn't have to sign the agreement.
You took the offer that you couldn't refuse.
You're right. You took the offer. You signed it. And
Wait, they were given an offer they couldn't refuse? Gee whiz.
Everybody's
Everyone's
given an
getting
offer.
offers they can't refuse. What's going on here?
But so it'll be. I mean, again, I think FSU has paved the way, and I
Yeah.
don't think this is the last one we're going to see. Clemson obviously is, with FSU is wanting to get out of the ACC.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot more lawsuits coming.
Oh yeah. Well, and again, their buyouts are obscene in the sense that it's like $500 million.
I think I saw like Miami's. I know sometime it said like earlier this past season, it was like $150 million.
That's just their buyout. That's just the buyout of the ACC. It's not the base buyout of their entire media rights deal, which is $500 million. The ACC buyout for FSU for all the teams is like $565 million.
Yeah, you're gonna have to charge more college parties than to be able to do that.
Well, see, the thing is, like these teams, like a big conference like Big Ten or SEC, may be willing to pay some of that. Maybe not all of it, but pay some of it to just get that team to come over to.
I'm gonna hate that where every team is just gonna become. SEC is gonna be saturated.
Oh yeah,
Big Ten is gonna be saturated. I mean, I feel like there's already too many teams in those conferences.
I just want to say right now, though, if the SEC does take on Clemson, we need to get rid of South Carolina.
You can only have one South Carolina team on there.
No, just kick South Carolina to some group of 5. That's where they belong.
Just kick them 30 minutes down the road.
So you're gonna let Vanderbilt stay, but South Carolina.
Well, we have to let Vanderbilt
They're
stay.
one of the founders. You can't really.
South Carolina's not.
Like,
South Carolina's only been a part of the SEC for like 30 years.
Okay.
Versus almost 100. So
they're young. That's right.
yeah, so
They'll recover
got
quick.
it. Yeah, they're young and sprightly. Is that the right word? I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like it's more of a southern thing.
Yeah, it's a soft drink.
Yeah, sprightly.
I usually drink it when my stomach hurts.
Right.
So, anyways, well, thanks again for joining tonight's tailgate. Come back next week, grab a drink, and join the conversation. Offer they can't refuse.
Is a hemorrhoid just for men?
I mean, I've never heard of a hemorrhoid.
A hemorrhoid?
Women do get them. I don't.
So are they called heroids?
I see what you did there.
Sheroids.
Ultimate dad joke.